Hello everybody, welcome to this video. I thought I would do something a little bit differently, and instead of starting a new brand identity project, I thought I would kind of go back and dig deeper into some of the processes that I've done in previous videos. I know that a lot of people have been watching the video that I did on recreating Instagram templates in Canva. But I have had a couple of questions come up and thought I would take the time to go through Canva today and show you what its features are from the perspective of a graphic designer who is already used to using Photoshop and Illustrator to create designs. So here I am on the home screen, and you can kind of think of it in the same way as how you open Illustrator or Photoshop, where you will start a new document and you have some sizes to choose from. So here in Canva you have the same thing, and it gives you some templates that you can work with, or if you click on one of the See All link, it will bring you to even more templates to choose from and work with, or you can just create a blank one. The other thing that you can do, instead of choosing a document size from that category, or even in this kind of a slider here, carousel, whatever you call it, you can come up to this Create a Design button, and here you'll have the same kind of options in this list format. And if you kind of scroll over any of them, you'll be able to see what the dimensions are and in the different units. So some of them are in pixels, some of them are in inches, and I think there's even some that are in centimeters and millimeters. If you're wanting to, or if you don't see something in that list, or just want to start completely from scratch, you can also choose this custom dimensions option, and here you can enter the width that you want, the height that you want, and you can choose whether or not which unit you want it in. So the default is pixels, but you can change it to inches or millimeters or centimeters, whatever it is that you feel most comfortable with. So I'm going to go ahead and open a new document just to show you what is available once you are actually in your Canva document and designing things. So when you open this up, this is kind of what you start with. If you start with a blank template or start from scratch. So on the side you'll see a bunch of these functions, the templates that are available, your uploads, some photos which I think are linked to unsplash.com, a bunch of elements here, so this is where you'll find shapes and frames, lines, and all of these little illustrations. Anything here with that little crown icon in the corner is a Canva Pro only one, so you'll have to pay for it or upgrade to a Canva Pro account. You've got your text here, and I'll go over it in a little bit, but you can choose to add a heading, a subheading, and some body text. They've got some music here, I think if you're ever doing any videos. A list of videos here. You can change the background texture of the document. And then there's a folders one, which is mostly a feature, I think that's for Canva Pro users. And then if you click the More button, there's a couple of other things. The styles one has almost some pre-done themes, I guess, color themes, in terms of using different fonts together and a color palette and all that, and then you can click and there's just the color themes that are here, and then on the fonts there are just the, you know, the font combinations that are here. I think the other thing that was over here was a charts one, so if you're wanting to add those kind of things, I'll click on it just to show you, but some different charts here. I haven't actually worked with it, but just showing you what is kind of here. There's a bunch of apps and integrations that I haven't really explored, but if it's something that you want to do, that is where you'll find this one. So in terms of like, how does this compare to Photoshop? Well, one of the things that maybe you're probably used to using right away is the layers feature and where to place things. In Canva, this is all that you get to work with. And if you ever kind of search layers in Canva, it'll show you something, but what it's referring to is arranging your objects. So for example, I'm going to come down here and I'm just going to pick a couple things to play with. Maybe let's just pick this one here, and, or no, let's not do that one. Let's just pick some of these leaves and things like that. And maybe we'll do that one. So, so I put a few things on here just to kind of show you how their concept of layering is. And so I've got 3 objects here, and if you come up to this position, this is where they have the move to back or backwards and some of their alignment options that are also available to us in Photoshop and Illustrator. So you will notice that if I move these so that they are separate, I think you no longer get that option to move it forward or backwards. Okay, so in Canva, the layering kind of concept is what we're used to seeing as arranging in either Photoshop or Illustrator, or there's the alignment tool, which is also the same thing in Photoshop and Illustrator. Okay, so that is one of the things that I wanted to show. What is another thing that we're used to using in Photoshop and Illustrator? Well, the first thing that comes to mind for me is clipping masks, because I use it a lot when I'm creating things in Illustrator, and I'm kind of thinking that there's a lot of you that might use it also if you are more of a Photoshop user. So how do we achieve that? Well, in Canva, there is not really an exact replica. Basically, what their way of doing this is having these kind of frames. So it is in that Elements menu option on the side, and you can click on the See All to see what's available. And so basically, if you want something in a shape, and they've got a few things down here. So here they've got this like torn paper look of a frame. So this is where you would use it. And this kind of an image means that you can go to the photos and take one of these. I usually just drag it over until this frame is selected, and then I just release my well, in my case I'm using my trackpad, but if you're using a mouse, then just release that. Now, so you might say, but this is not how I want the photo to appear in that frame. So if you just double click it, so just like a clipping mask, you can change how it appears. And then, so I just moved it up a little bit, and then I'm just gonna hit the enter button. And so there is your frame. You can resize it, make it a little bit bigger here with the corners. And so that is what Canva's idea of a clipping mask is. And so it's basically, you can't use custom shapes. It is just with the options that are here. I've also read that not everything is listed out in here. So if there's a certain concept that you're kind of looking for, maybe you want like an organic shape, an organic frame, and like these are just the shapes, so they're not going to be those same the frames that give you that kind of a clipping mask concept. But if you scroll down, you'll eventually, so there's a couple of them here. So you've got these kind of organic shapes to work with, so you can kind of pull them in, or you can just click on it and it'll appear in the center of your artboard. Or what I'm calling an artboard, I have no idea what Canva calls this, but this space, your design space. So there's that one. So I'm gonna just get rid of those because I don't really need them. All right, so what is another thing that you might want to be able to use that you're used to using in Photoshop or Illustrator? For me, because I spend a lot of time in Illustrator, I like to use the pen tool or the pencil to draw things out. As you can see here, Canva doesn't have that ability. So it is something that you would have to do in Illustrator and then bring it in if you wanted to use it. So some of the things that I'm thinking of are creating custom shapes, or even something like creating maybe more of a handwritten thing, stuff like that. So you don't have the ability to draw anything in Canva, unfortunately. I kind of feel like it's not even something that's available in Canva Pro, but just a heads up on that part of it. So in terms of placing images in, if you wanted to bring in some of your designs that you created in Illustrator or Photoshop, you'll just come to this uploads area, click the upload media, and then choose where your file is. And then from here you can actually, so if I wanted to use this image in here, so I can just drag it over and place it. You can also just click on it and it'll appear in the center of the screen. And then if you want it to appear in that frame, just keep moving it until you can see that that frame has that kind of a teal, whatever the Canva color outline, and then just release it to place it in there. All right, so what are some other things that maybe you might want to kind of figure out? If you wanted to create another page or artboard, Canva, whatever you want to call it, you can either click on this Add Page button, and if you want to change the order of it, you can move it up or you can move it down with the little arrows that are above that little square space area. You can also duplicate a design. So I'm going to go back to this first one. So if you wanted to duplicate this entire thing, you can come over here at the top to choose the duplicate page, and it'll create a copy of what you've done. To delete it, you can just hit the delete page. What is this? And this one is another way to add a page. That's a blank one, so we'll click on that so it creates another blank page for you. All right. I haven't played with the add notes feature. I feel like it's something that will work. It kind of comes more into play if you're creating presentations, but there's also that icon and then you can just add some notes to it. Okay. All right, so let's see what some of the features are once you have an object selected, and they change depending on what you add. So for this photo, these are the features that you can see. There is a filter area, which is kind of like what we're all used to seeing in Instagram and who knows what other programs there. Maybe I don't even know. But so you've got to do some different adjustments, some pre-done kind of ways to fix some coloring and stuff like that on your photo. Okay, and then you can actually, there's the intensity of it. So just like what you see on like Instagram filters or any photo editing app on your phone, you can kind of change it up and down just to change how much of that filter is being shown. So I'm just going to get out of there. I don't want anything. There is the adjust feature here where you can change each of these individually. So maybe you want to, I don't know, move the contrast down, but you want to move the brightness up and stuff like that. And I don't know, maybe you want to blur it a little bit. You can do that in this area. So I'm just going to reset it. Okay, this crop one isn't something that I've played with a little bit very much, but I feel like it is the same thing as double clicking your frame and then adjusting how you want your image positioned inside of that frame area. So I'm gonna get out of there. I've already gone through the position thing, but basically it's, if you're layering it on top of something, it's a way for it to, you can move something in front of or behind something else. You can also align it with some of these options to the actual page. I think if you have more than one object selected, and maybe I'll kind of show that, you can actually align them together, but I will go through that. Your transparency, you can choose whether or not you want it completely, it's hard to see because I don't have anything behind it, but you can change that here. If you wanted to create a document like a PDF file and you want it linked to something else, you would come here and enter the link. You can choose to lock something. So if you don't want something to be edited, you can hit this lock button and then it removes any of these other features that were up there. You can also hit this button here and it duplicates the object that you have selected. So if you'll notice I hit the duplicate button and then it created a copy of it. And then if you decide that you don't want it or you do something by accident, you can hit that little trash can to delete it. And obviously I hit the wrong one. Just like Photoshop and Illustrator, you have a back button here. And if there's something that I've done, so oops, I don't want to do that one. And then you can also redo something. So the thing that I do like about Canva is that for any of the short keys that you're used to using in Photoshop and Illustrator, the same short keys work here. So for example, if I wanted to copy and paste this, I'm on a MacBook, so I hit the Command C and the Command V button and it creates a duplicate of that if I don't want to use this button up here. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna open some text here and show you what's available. So add a heading. So this is the title. So I've got some text to work with. When you have an object selected, if you want to move it, you can usually click on it, but you can and move it, but you can also get this kind of the arrow in the 4 directions to kind of put it in a different place. So there you go there. You can move it to the bottom, and then just like in Photoshop and Illustrator, you have the ability to rotate it. And again, just move it to a different position. If you want to change the font of the text, just come up here to this first option, and it'll give you a list of fonts to choose from. So not all of the fonts that you have available on your computer are gonna be here, but most of the Google fonts are here, and then some other ones. So this is kind of where you might want to kind of go in beforehand if you're doing this sort of thing, and just to see if the font is available. I know that, you know, I worked on a design that used the Days, I don't even, it was called Days 1, I think, font. It's a Google font, but when I came in here, they didn't have it. So I had to find something else that would kind of work in its place if I wanted to use the text part of it. Or your other option is to create the heading or something in Illustrator or Photoshop and then bring it in here as one of your uploads. So that would only work if you had something that you didn't want edited, but you still wanted included in the design. Okay, just like any other kind of text editing, you know, feature, you've got your font size here. You can either change it with the plus and minus, or click on it and choose from some already pre-done sizes here. If you want to change the color, this is where you would come to do that. Kind of Canva has a really cool thing where it will kind of show you some of the colors that appear in your design. So if you're looking for something to complement what you're doing, you know, it's pulling in, for example, right now, it's pulling in the colors from the photo that's there. So maybe you want to use the green or that dark brown that appear in the photo itself. Or if you want to add like a custom hex code, just click on this kind of rainbowy kind of color, click on it, and you'll be able to enter the hex code of a whatever color that you want to work with. Okay. Some of the fonts that you choose from will have the option to choose a bold version or an italic version. I think the one that I have doesn't have the bold ability, and I don't know if it's actually done anything to the italic, but some of them already come. Like, for example, if you're looking at it's wrong area here. Click on here. Oops. Something like Poppins that has some different variations here. It already comes like you've got the bold, the light, and the medium already here as different options. So I might click that, and so you'll see, like, when I come up here, the bold option is, oh, I guess it's me to select this entire thing. The bold option is there, but the italic isn't there anymore. Don't need that part. Next over, we've got the alignment, your text alignment. So you can choose it to center align, left align, justify, right aligned. For this one, if you wanted to create a list, just click on it and it'll automatically enter the bullet point. If you click it again, it'll change it to a numbered list, and then one other time it'll get rid of it altogether. And then your spacing options. So the letter spacing is kind of like, what would it be? I guess you're tracking, kerning, tracking, one of those. I'm not a huge typography person, but so let's just change the spacing in between all of your letters. And then your line height is like your paragraph line height. So you can also change that if you had if you had paragraph text or text that took up more than one line. And then I guess this would be if you had maybe a paragraph of text on your design and you wanted to choose to have it kind of aligned to the top or the middle of the bottom, but I can't really show that because I'm just working with the title right here. All right, oops, back in here. So the next one over is your effects. I don't know if there's a lot of things that I would actually use in here, but if it's something that you want to play with in your design, then here are some of the effects that you have to choose from. For me, the only thing that I would actually use is nothing or this curve button, because the curve is kind of like your type on a path, on a circle path, and you would be able to here with the adjustments you can choose how much you want the text curved or not, and whether or not you want it to go, you know, yes, you can just play with it, but that's kind of how this one works. So I have no idea, because right now it is so if you're used to that type on path, you can choose to have it oh, what is it? It's like aligned, like when it's the bottom of the text, the baseline, or the center and stuff like that. So I think, you know, in Canva, I think the only option that you have is that it's kind of the text is center aligned with that circle path. Okay, so I'm just gonna move that back down here. So here in this three dots, kind of the more area, is the underline option. You can choose to have it all uppercase or this title case. This is where your position kind of shows up. So there's only two objects on here, so it's only going to show the backward or forward. Well, it's already in the front, so it's just the backward that's available. This paintbrush, this copy style, I actually have no idea how it works. I don't use it. Again, the transparency function is here. The linking function is here. Your locking thing is here. I don't know if you would ever use it if you're adding text to a document, because I feel like text is what you want people to edit. So I don't know if that would actually be used with a text. And then your duplicate, just like before. So what are some other things that we can go through? Some of the elements here. Oops, let me just get out of here. Oh, I know what I wanted to go over. So when I'm in Illustrator, a lot of the stuff that I will do is I will use the Pathfinder to combine different shapes. So I'm going to just kind of take this as an example. There is obviously no Pathfinder tool, but maybe what I want to create is like a button style of shape. Now, there might be some shapes available, but for something like maybe so what I'm trying to do right now is I want to create a rounded button, and they do have some pre-made shapes available, but you will notice, like, okay, so I'm just gonna kind of create this and then create the other side. So I have a little bit of a button shape created. So they do have some button shapes available here. Maybe I have to kind of go look for it, and I'll just put that to show you. You can change the sizing and stuff like that, but what I found is that you can't actually change the sizing, so it's like smaller here, I guess. It does what kind of like a shift and resize does, where it keeps all of the ratios the same. which is really annoying to me because maybe you want something that's like, you want it this width, but you don't want the button to be that high. So that's kind of annoying in some of these things. The other thing that you might find is that you'll click on something, and so this one is good. You have the ability to change the color of it, but you might get some other ones where you select it, and because it's a PNG image, you can't change the colorings on it. All right, so here I have, basically I brought in a rectangle and 2 circles to create another kind of a button. And you can I just group them. And so it keeps them as individuals, but once you move it, you can move it all together. So I'm just gonna move that here, and maybe you just want to, yeah, put that one kind of in the center there. So that is a way to maybe create some like custom shapes that you might not have available here. There's also the option of just creating this in Illustrator and Photoshop and then just bringing it in. So I think that kind of covers everything that I wanted to go over. Maybe one last thing that I'll just kind of show is if you wanted to create an animated post of some sort. Maybe you're doing an actual video or just want to create animated social media posts. There is the option to animate it. You know, so obviously with the free version, I don't have a huge selection to choose from, but I think there's a few more available to a pro user here. The only thing with this is that you can't animate elements individually. So I can't click on this text box and then choose to animate that individually. Can't choose this photo and then have it have a different animation come in, or this button at the bottom here. So it's either, you know, the entire document, or I should say page, or nothing. So that's the only thing with that. So say you wanted to go and download this. So you can hit this download button at the top. It'll have a default, so you're probably in most cases you're going to download it as a PNG or a JPEG. But then you've got the option to do it as a PDF if you were doing some kind of a document style of book or ebook or form of some sort. So you can export it, download it as a PDF. Once you get into the videos, there's also the video option and the GIF options as well, if that's what you are doing. But this button with the 3 dots on it just has some similar. You can download it, share a link. So it just basically lets somebody else come into this. If you were creating templates, I would say, first of all, upgrade to the Canva Pro, because then you'll have the option to save it as a template. Because once somebody has this link on this type of a document, they basically can change anything that you've already done. So if you were to do it this way, share the link, or maybe create a copy first, share the link, and then when you're giving them instructions, if they are actually wanting to treat it as a template, they will have to create a copy of their document so that they still keep the original and then just have something to come back with. So anyways, I'm not going to go into this too much because I think it's something that you can do on your own. So in this file area, again, if you're wanting to make a copy of what you've done in the file, there is a make a copy option down here. So, okay. Anyways, I kind of think that's all that I wanted to cover in this video. If you do have any questions, you can either write something in the comment below or contact me on Instagram because I'm a little bit more active there. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I will see you next week. Have a great day.